Are we live? I think we're live. Are we live? Awesome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cold Calling Live. I'm David Bentham. I'm the sales, the SDR director here at Cognism. I've forgotten, honestly.
You forgot your title.
I know. And I had all these technical problems. Yeah, I'm the director of sales development at Cognism, and I have got the absolute pleasure of welcoming again the one and only Morgan Ingram, currently, or as of very recently, the VP of Go-to-Market Talent and Development. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
Awesome. At the Sales Impact Academy. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on again, as always, Morgan. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. We have a blast doing these, so I'm excited to dive into some more people who are going to do some cold calls and see what we can get out of it here.
Perfect. And the big question at the moment, or kind of what me and Morgan were just talking about, is his background setup right now. I think he's looking like he's straight out of a Fatboy Slim concert, and I'm loving it. But we'd love to get your comments, like feedback. Is there somewhere? Is there a different color that you should go for? Like that's gonna be the one of the key topics today.
Absolutely.
But outside of that, I think if you're new here and you've never seen one of these before, the idea of today is we're going to invite people on to run through a cold call with us. They're gonna, we're gonna do a bit of a role play with them. Practice their cold call, and the idea is between myself and Morgan, we're going to hopefully give some really actionable feedback that will apply obviously to the to their cold call itself, but could also be taken away for anybody else. We've got some volunteers, I believe. The marketing team is sat in the background. They've been busy finding volunteers, so I think we've got lots of volunteers. But if we do have time, please post in the group or post in the chat as well if you'd like to jump on and be another one of our volunteers. And if we can't get you on this time, I'm sure we can get you on next time as well. So yeah, should we kick off, Morgan? Or I've not seen any comments about your background setup yet, which is super disappointing. Oh, hello, Emily. Have we got Emily? On my screen, I've got 3 versions of Emily right now.
Yeah, I do as well. I think we're about to fix it.
Suvi likes your green lights.
There we go.
Has anybody seen, I was just saying to Morgan, there's this Twitch YouTuber that does some gaming, and he has like fire that shoots out behind him every time he gets like a kill on the game that he's playing. If anybody has that video, can you put that in the chat as well? Because I need to find it after this to show Morgan. Joe.
Hi, David. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Joe. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. I'm all
awesome.
Good,
where are you calling in from?
So calling in from Worcester in the UK.
Very nice. The Midlands.
Yeah.
Is it as rainy as London?
It's finally stopped, but to be grateful, it's good to finally have some rain here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's been very, if anybody not in the UK, it's been very hot recently. We're not used to that at all. Joe, thank you so much for joining us and being so brave as to do a bit of a role play with us. Just to start off with, if we could get a little bit of context over yourself, obviously your product offering, and we'd also like to know about your persona, so we can hopefully tailor our role play a little bit more to you.
Cool. So I'm the business development manager here at Avalion. Avalion, we're an information security consultancy operating, pen testing, data protection, cybersecurity, ISO implementation and management. Sort of the background is I joined the business at the back end of last year. They'd never made a cold call, a proactive approach, anything before I joined. And to be honest with you, I've been operating as a sales leader for about 10 years before this. So I hadn't made a cold call for about 10 years myself. So it's all developing that go-to-market strategy, everything around that. I've actually got a couple of my SDRs in the background watching this and listening to this. So there's no pressure at all on me.
None at all. You got it.
That is leading from the front, Joe. And we love to see it.
We love to see it. It's absolutely.
So yeah, our key sort of target market is tech focused businesses, somewhere sort of between that seed funding and Series B funding position. So to be honest, someone like Cognism a couple of years ago would have been a prime target for us because of all the various compliance and legislative demands that you have, and our services would fit completely into your sort of into a company like you very well. And what we're doing is we're deliberately targeting tech companies in that earlier stage because it allows us to expand with them. We're doing a land and expand sales methodology here, where we're putting ourselves at a very aggressive price point, where we come in delivering one of the more transactional services we sell, most likely the pen testing or the data protection services we offer. But then as we embed ourselves in the company, we can offer further and deeper sales. And I'm really lucky with here is all the consultants are very involved in the sales process. And we've got some really hard-hitting, experienced people, former CIO of the UK Army, head of business continuity for Visa for 37 sites across Europe, the guy who set up the cyber services division of Capita in the mid-2000s, some good heavy hitters behind me, really.
That's awesome. And what persona are you targeting? I'm assuming it's on maybe the legal CEO side. CTOs is our prime focus, or CIOs or CISOs, but generally, the most senior technical person within those organizations. Okay. Morgan, have you got all that?
I do. I'm going to do my best to be a CTO here, but I wrote it down, so I will be the prospect here.
I am throwing you straight under the bus and making you the prospect first.
Hey, look, I'm ready to go. I'll be a CTO as much as I can. So, that's what we'll do.
Perfect. Awesome. Cool. Well, if you're happy, Joe, by tradition, you have to start off with a little ring, and people in the comments have to judge your ring as well.
Okay, no problem there. So ring.
Hello?
Hi, is that Morgan?
This is me.
Yeah, hi Morgan. It's Joe Alsop here calling from Avalion. How are you?
I'm all right.
Okay, good. Morgan, I was just following up an email I sent to you recently around penetration testing and ISO implementation. Did you see that at all?
No, I get thousands of emails a day, so I definitely didn't get that.
No, I completely appreciate that. And to be honest, that was the reason I was reaching out for a call. I could imagine someone like you would always be getting hundreds, if not thousands of emails a day. The reason I specifically reached out to you, Morgan, is we've been working with a number of similar companies, these tech-focused companies that have got a lot of legislative and compliance demands, particularly supporting in those two areas I mentioned, their penetration testing needs and their ISO implementation. And we've seen a dramatic increase, particularly in the penetration testing requirements of those businesses over the course of this year. That's really been led by that increased supply risk management, that vendor due diligence that all of us are really starting to experience now. And that's the reason I reached out to you. There's a couple of companies we could go through I've worked with in a very similar way. I just wanted to understand really how you guys look after your pen testing needs there.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of different pieces there. As of right now, we have an internal team that's looking into that. We've looked at some other solutions. We didn't really feel like it was a fit for us, and what we're doing right now, we're pretty solid with. So if you want to send me an email for more information, that might be more applicable here.
Yeah, of course. I've got no problem following up this conversation with an email. You said you looked into a couple of solutions there, just so I can get an idea of where you are and what's going on. Those solutions you were talking about, was that sort of around the manual side of the penetration testing, or were they automated software-based solutions?
Yeah, it was more on the manual side. My team said that's something that they wanted to dive more into. Whether that was right or not, we're determined to see that. But that's what they said that we needed to do.
Yeah, and that's what we offer. We're CREST accredited pen testers here, so we are doing that manual solution. It's not 100% manual, as any good penetration testing tester will tell you need to use a suite of tools as part of that arsenal when you are completing a penetration test within a company, because any of the malicious hackers are going to be using tools themselves. But yeah, we do. It's really about focusing on the manual side of things that we do here. And that's why, you know, we've had a lot of engagement, because one of the things that I can be very proud of our pen testers to say is we've engaged with a number of companies recently where they've had pen tests before and been given the all clear. And actually, when our guys have had a go, they've actually discovered some very serious vulnerabilities that have been legacy issues. There was actually an example, one of the guys did a test a couple of weeks ago and was able to get domain authority as a result of one of those legacy issues, even though 3 pen tests had been completed previously that should have discovered that vulnerability.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate, you know, I've called you out the blue here, Morgan. But just really, I'd like to sort of arrange a call that we could have a more deeper discussion around this, really get an idea of your business in a deeper way, because one of the things that we do here is we make sure we take a pragmatic approach to any of the clients that we work with. We're not going to overly prescribe and say, you know, we need you to pen test your app, your web application, your APIs, and infrastructure.
For sure. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, sounds like a couple things, you know, could be aligned. I would say like the best thing right now, we're heads down on a couple projects. If you could maybe reach out to me in a month, I think I'd be able to schedule that call.
Okay, I've got no problem doing that. You know, I've got you on the call now, so why don't we pencil something in for that month's time when you're probably not going to be as busy as you are now. I'll make sure I follow up in the run up to that. If there's any problems, obviously we can move it, but if not, it means we've both got that time aside and we can really get a deep conversation, and I can see if we are the sort of consultancy that would be able to adequately support you.
Yeah, no, that works with me.
Perfect. Are we happy to finish there, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
No.
We'll give you a good job going first. We'll give you a round of applause there. Hopefully, everyone in the chat give them a round of applause as well. Give them a little round of applause. So I can go first, David, and then I can pass it off to you. I wrote down a couple things. So Joe, again, you went first here. Hopefully, you didn't have too much of a heart attack as you were doing these. Hopefully, your team would give you a round of applause on this as well. So a couple things that I really liked, and I was writing this down. Every time I gave you an objection, you were like, "Oh, that's cool," and then you moved on pretty quickly. I really like that, right? I gave you the email one, and somehow we kept talking. I wanted to see what you were going to do with that when you handled that well. And then I said, yeah, reach out in a month, and you got time, right? You're like, no, we're actually going to like schedule some time here. And we would have like obviously like gotten the email and stuff, but we knew the call was over at that point. What I also really liked is that you came in with use cases and also examples of how people do certain things. Obviously, I don't know everything about the CTO and all those different things. So you probably could have gone deeper there, but I liked how you were able to manufacture that conversation. The only thing that I would consider here is, and this is a personal thing, I don't know what David says, or if people in the chat can also maybe talk to this as well. I recommend people to not mention that you sent an email, because what ends up happening is that like 98% of the time they're going to say, no, they didn't see it. And there's a rare chance where they do. And at that point, they probably would have, seen it and maybe responded. So I don't even talk about hey, I sent you an email, check it out. I more so I say, hey, here's the reason for my call. And I just say what was probably in the email anyways, right? So that's like my one consideration that you had. But I think this call overall was good and you did a good job.
Awesome. Yeah, Joe, I would echo a lot of what Morgan said. Lots of positives. I think one thing that I teach so much is how important it is to recognize an objection. And so although you moved on quickly, which is very important, you still recognized it. Morgan said that he wanted an email, and you said, yep, that's no problem at all. I can send it straight after this. And some people miss that. They just kind of say, cool, and then jump into statements or like kind of the next question. So it's good that you're really, really good that you're recognizing those objections. Have you outside perspective looking in, I think one thing that I'm not a CTO either, this introduction, your hook statement, for me, I'm trying to make that 1-2 lines maximum. Like I'm really trying to,
like his value prop.
Yeah, the value
Yeah,
prop.
yeah,
Yeah. Like I'm really keen. I think the best conversations are always ones where they go two-way, and perhaps this is a little bit different from normal because Morgan couldn't go as two-way as a normal CTO because of the understanding gap. But that initial statement, I'd be thinking of ways of shortening that down so you can start getting into that discussion, because whether it be CTOs or anybody else, I think people naturally just switch off, and so if you keep it too long, then you can lose that engagement. So that'd be like my one one of my comments. And then the only other comment is the data that comes straight from Cognism's own Salesforce is that we, as a team, we don't any meetings booked for any longer than 10 days in advance. We have a 4 times drop-off rate. So our drop-off rate, so if we book the next day, it's like an 8% drop-off rate in the UK right now. It depends regionally. If you book a meeting in Germany, everybody turns up all the time. But 8% in the UK. But if you do it more than 10 days out, then it's about a 30% drop-off rate. So I would just consider, and again, like maybe this is something you considered already, I would just really consider, like, if people are asking to book a month out, trying your best first and foremost to try and keep that to as close as possible. If you can, at least, I advise always pushing back at least once, right, on those kind of statements. That, again, like, there's obviously lots of schools of thought, and it depends on the persona, but that's kind of like my personal experience. But overall, really, really great job, Joe, and thank you so much for being so brave.
No problem at all, and I really appreciate the feedback, guys. Really do.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Joe.
Cheers.
David, question for you. Can you see the chat? Because now I cannot see the chat, so I might need to refresh real quick.
Okay, I can see the chat. I've got Simon Cowell, I've got Morgan Freeman, and
okay,
they're gifts. I've got them all in there right now.
All right, let me refresh real quick, y'all. Okay. As Ben is about to join in here.
So just while that's going on, we had a question from Ben. Glad to know about drop-off rate. What would you say about having to book 2 weeks out as they're going on holiday? Okay, so what we do at Cognism is we have a rule that SDRs can't book any longer than 10 days out. We set that as that rule for the account executive team because that's the way we have our setup. If people are on holiday and they have a legitimate reason why they need to book further than 10 days out, we ask the SDR to book a like follow-up call with themselves to re-engage with the prospect. And then we have specific cadences within our outreach that we would load the prospect into, and it would try and engage them with, it would remind the SDR to engage them with relevant content and things like that, just to, or to go on LinkedIn and see if they posted and drop them a like. So that's how we currently are dealing with that, and especially at the moment in August, where we obviously so many people are on holiday. A little bit like a nurture cadence. Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Morgan, do you find... do you have any rules like that? Have we got maybe we've got someone joining?
Rules around which part?
Like booking in later?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. My thing is, I always told my reps, and again, this is when I answer this, keep in mind that you might have different rules in your organization. I always try to book it the same day or at least 2 to 3 days out. Like I try to create that urgency, right? The further that you push it out, the higher likelihood that they're not going to show up. So I would be like, hey, like, sounds like you're interested. Like, do you have time to meet today? And sometimes they obviously don't. I try to be like, hey, are you willing to meet 2 days? Then I do like next week. So I try to get urgency there because I know if I can get them on the call 2 days later, they're going to show up versus if they don't do that and they push me out 2 weeks later, that would be harder for me to get that nailed down. So that's what I try to do. I know holiday and things of that nature are going to play a factor in this, but that's my attempt.
Amazing. Have we got Brian?
Sorry, I don't have a mic. How's it going?
No problem at all. Yeah, really good. How are you, Brian?
I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from, I don't know if you know the country, Pakistan.
I know Pakistan. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You probably saw the Miss Marvel show.
I've never visited, but I'd absolutely love to. And Brian, tell us about who you work, what your company does, and what personas you target.
Well, our company basically makes the software, which deals with high volume email and chat. Basically, it's like a CRM that deals with this email, chat, or any type of let's say processes that you might have in your company, like credit memos, or um, it's majorly emailing is what the main thing is. About the personas, I would say that we are targeting mostly financials and shipping companies like FedEx. That's one we're working for right now. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. My real name is a different name though. This is the persona I adopted myself, so it's easier to contact people, and you know it's easier just to say that Brian rather than say a name that's difficult to speak.
Sure.
I'm just gonna go ahead and not speak that because it's just irrelevant in this case right now.
Sure, no problem at all. So just to confirm, products like or the way that I'm interpreting this, it's like a CRM, but it captures the conversations that these financial companies are having with their customers all in one place, like their
Yeah,
emails they're having.
very true. Yeah, that's very also very like protected. I'm not too much into this. I've been researching on this for like 2 or 3 months, so I'm just an appointment setter at this time, and just trying to set up some appointments. And my boss wanted me to join this meeting and you know see how I can improve.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any other context you want to give, or should we dive in?
Yeah, that seems about it. Let's
Cool,
dive in.
awesome. Well, do you want to give us a ring? I'll take it this time, Morgan. I'll give you a
Yeah,
moment off.
you got it. You got it.
Awesome. All right. Give it a ring, Brian, and we'll go from there.
Um, ring ring.
Hello, Dave speaking.
Hi, Dave. Is this David Bentham?
It is.
Awesome. Hi, this is Brian calling from 101 Service. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, you may remember I sent you an email a couple of days ago. Don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but can I have just 30 seconds to quickly explain why I'm calling you today?
Yeah, I'm running into a meeting, but I can give you 30 seconds.
All right, awesome. Do you ever feel like there's just this, a big chunk of email that's just not being answered, and everything's, just not in the right place. Agents are just, working on the email that's just, uh it's to their liking, but it's not exactly what they should be working on. Do you ever face that kind of problem?
Um, yeah, sure. Yeah, it can happen from time if you get some bad eggs.
Yeah, because a big company like you have this large amount of email questions not being answered is a big problem for you. Because if you have that problem, we can definitely help you with that. I'm actually calling you to tell you more about our software, iService, and how it is efficient in dealing with high volume email and chat interactions with customers, and how we can improve your workflow. So I'm actually calling to see if we could set up an appointment like 10 to 15 minutes. I know you're busy, so I'm not just going to take, so much of your time. Could we set up an appointment for like 10 minutes tops for a discovery call?
Um, we could. I think we've got a tool in place at the moment that is exactly like that. Or it's kind of
Hmm.
it's there to monitor that. I've forgotten the name. I'm really sorry.
That's fine.
But yeah, like maybe like before I commit to a meeting, you could tell me. I mean, like before I commit to the meeting, I'm not sure like why I would move to you over this tool, which I think is working quite well.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but the thing is, sometimes you said yourself that you see this large amount of email not being answered, but with our software, you will not face that problem, and I'm confident it will improve your workflow very much. So, if you could just give me 10 minutes, I'm not just asking you to make a decision or, switch to it. It's 10 minutes, it's whatever. You can make time whenever you want, and I can just tell you about it. If you want to go with it, we, want to know more, I can tell you more or not. It's totally up
Okay.
to you.
I
Could we
think
set up?
I think for now, actually, maybe I can get one of my team on it, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. When are they available?
I don't have their calendar in front of me, but perhaps like we could tentatively put something in for Wednesday next week.
Okay. Sounds good. Awesome. What time are you available?
Let's say 3 p.m.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Thanks so much for your time today. Have
Awesome.
a great day.
Thanks so much, Brian. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Bye now.
Cool. All right. Great job. Really, really great job. Thanks
Good,
so
good.
much for being so
Okay,
brave.
Brian.
Yeah,
If everybody in the chat, you want to give your comments as well, you can. But David, you can go into it as well.
for sure. So, first thing I'll say, your hook is brilliant. Leading with pain, I find from is just really kind of is the best way of hooking personas in, because it's challenges that they face every single day, or you hope it's challenges that you face every single day, and obviously nicely leads you into the conversation.
Right.
So I think, yeah, leading with that is brilliant. I would maybe try, I don't know whether that is really just the only pain that you fix as an organization, but one thing that we found super effective is kind of going in with two different ones and saying like which one applies better to you. That's really helped us kind of open up that conversation as well. But yeah, really, really like the hook statement. I think at the start, your opening, your tonality is fantastic as well. It's very easy to listen to you. I think at the start, you opened with the "How are you" opener. I've actually recently written a post on this, but essentially, if I say, if you're someone that says, "Hey, how are you?" If the prospect says, "How are you?" Yeah, good. How are you back? You've got to tell them how you are. You've got to use that as a moment. For me, you've got to use that as a moment to build a bit of rapport and really like humanize yourself. Most prospects will probably just say, "Yeah, good." Right. And then in that case, you just move on. That's like 80% of your prospects. But on that rare occasion where perhaps like, you get someone who's a little bit nicer and they say, "How are you?" back, you've got that opportunity to take yourself away from being a salesperson and more into being a human. And for me, you've got to take those opportunities, because people buy from people they like. And so, yeah, that would be like one of, my piece of advice to you.
Okay.
But overall, great job.
Means a lot. Okay.
All right. No, so I mean, first and foremost, it's not easy to do this in front of people. Love the feedback that people already threw in the chat on nice work. And David kind of went into my suggestion on what you can improve, but I want to talk about what you did good. So the thing is, David said this and I wrote it down. I like circled it. That question pain point you had was great. And to the point where this isn't my suggestion, you need to lead with that. Forget about the "How are you doing today?" Forget about the 30 seconds. I would throw that out the window. None of those matter. What you said on that question will get you more meetings than not. I don't know if anyone else in chat agrees with me, but that question will lead you to better conversations. The intro it's okay. It's marginal, but that question, phenomenal. And then leading into more value props and layering in different pieces is where you need to go. I would say that immediately. And you really were able to like guide the conversation for there, and you kept it cool. You had a really good pace, and it was really good. But I would literally write down that question, figure out how to ask more questions like that and more value props around that, and you'll be golden. Like, I guarantee that. The last thing, and I don't know. Let's hear the chat, because I've done this before. I've made this mistake. Anyone else like finally get the person to agree to the meeting and then they black out? And then they're like, "Oh, you got the meeting," and you get so excited that you forget one last step, which is to ask for the email. I don't know if anyone else in chat is like that. If you are, you could put a 1 and be like, "Yeah, that's definitely been me." I've done it before multiple times where it's just like, I got the meeting and then I forgot to clarify the email. So Brian, you got everything, but you didn't clarify the email of the person that you were looking to get the meeting with, that he said that you need to get in touch with. And again, I've made this mistake tons of times. And then I have to follow back up email, and then they don't give me the email, and then you're stuck, right? So
Yeah.
take the time to just like one quick second say, hey, I just want to confirm I have the right email, or just ask for the email so that you can send it to the right address and you have a meeting booked on the calendar. So I've done this before, so that's why I'm like laughing at my own self. That was like the one thing to consider. Just don't black out on that.
Maybe Morgan, he's got a fantastic tool like Cognism so he's got everybody's email already.
True, yeah, he already has a tool. He's got it, right? You always want to double check.
I've been there as well, for sure, Morgan. Just before you go, Brian, I actually as I had time to think back, I had one more point. How confident are you on your differentiators between you and any of your competitors? Because I'm sure you've got some competitors out there.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you've got competitors, companies that do similar things to you.
Oh yeah, we've got Freshworks. Then there's Zendesk. A lot of the big ones. But yeah, that's right.
And Brian, how confident do you feel in terms of your knowledge of like how you differ from them or from your competitors in general?
I feel pretty confident because the thing is, our software basically it's easy to use and doesn't require a lot of bandwidth to use, which is something that matters quite a lot. Which I don't know would matter with a big company that has 1,000 employees. They have this huge internet, like 100 or 500 megs going into just like a single PC.
Sure.
So it depends on the type of company we're targeting.
Sure.
But
So
yeah.
maybe I made it a little bit difficult because again, like I didn't give you an exact competitor. But when I threw that competitor objection at you, I think like your response was a little bit like, you trust me. And I think it's easier, or this all comes down to really knowing your differentiators and having that deep product knowledge and just being able to reel off real quick, like, okay, these are the key areas where we differ, and so that's exactly why you need to come and take a demonstration with us, and having like absolute confidence in your delivery of that statement. So yeah, perhaps it was more scenario based, but that would just be my final piece of feedback.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Brian. Really, really appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate it, Brian.
All right.
So we've had Worcester, we've had Pakistan. Where do we think we're going to get next?
We get Ireland, maybe? Denmark? What are we getting?
Lathan, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Certainly can. Wait, firstly, how is it Lathan? Is that how I'm pronouncing your name?
It's Lathan, yeah.
Lathan, perfect, cool. And where are you calling in from? Is it Scandinavia?
It's not Ireland either, unfortunately. It is the United States of America.
Okay, awesome. Whereabouts in the States?
Texas.
Amazing.
Nice.
Heard it's beautiful. Another place I've never visited, but I must at some stage.
Yeah. It's great spot. Too damn hot right now.
It is humid, though. It is humid. That's a fact.
I'll stop complaining about our heat. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being so brave and jumping on. Why don't you give the usual context? So what your company do and who you target.
Yeah, so I am currently in the process. Just actually signed on with Cognism like 3 weeks ago. And in the process of launching a consulting business for corporate America companies who have a really terrible employee retention and really terrible employee turnover rates and just don't really have clear culture.
Sure. Awesome. Persona HR?
Yeah. Yep. That is my first, my director of HR, VP of HR is my Cognism search for sure. Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. And I'm assuming, is there any more context that you want to give to Morgan before he tries to play your part?
No, just because I want to see how Morgan rolls with it. So
of course.
Pressure's on you now, Morgan.
Let's see how Morgan handles it. No context, actually. Yeah, we're good.
Cool. Well, let's dial the tone and let's get the show on the road.
Ring, ring.
This is Morgan.
Is this Morgan Ingram?
Yeah, this is me.
Morgan, my man, my name is Lathan Kraft. You don't know anything about me, but here's what I know about you. You, in the past week, have searched something about consulting quite a few times on the internet, haven't you?
That's kind of creepy, man. Should I hang up this phone? Like, how do you know this information?
Well, I know the information because I care deeply about companies like yours and roles like yours. And I've invested on my own personal money enough to figure out companies like yours and what y'all are doing and what y'all are struggling with. And I just happened to find you and your name and really want to reach out to you on a personal basis. I know that you get thousands of emails a day, but I just want to have a phone conversation because you seem to be having a problem already. That's already been established. You're searching consulting all the time, especially in the past 7 days. And I'd be curious to see what exactly you're looking for in a consulting with your employee retention problem that you seem to be facing.
Yeah, I'm still shocked, man. How did you find this information I was searching? What tools are you using?
Well, I have a provider that has allowed me the information to that basically just tracks Google searches. And obviously I don't have all your information. I can't go up to your house and knock on your door because
that's what I feel like right now. I feel like I need to hang up this call. It's just like, I don't know. I feel violated right now.
And that's the thing is I don't want to waste time or waste your time calling you based on things that you're not actually dealing with. So I took my time researching you and researching what you're struggling with enough to be able to have this phone conversation so that we're actually productive and not just shooting the air and hoping we land a buck.
Yeah, no, that would be bad. So yeah, I have been searching some things around consulting. That is true.
So what's going on? Like I don't know if you know anything about consulting, but in the framework, consulting's getting a bad rap because consulting right now has become more behavior modification and not really transformation. I dwell in the transformation space. Maybe you've hired consultants before, and that's why you're searching again, is you're hoping to potentially land on the prize pony of let's solve the problem this time. I'm curious of where you are in this. Are you looking for more revenue? Or are you looking for your employees to stay longer? Like, what's the core issue of your company that's caused you to search thousands of times on Google?
Oh yeah, thousands of times. You didn't say you knew all my information. You're getting creepier by the second. So, what I will tell you to give a quick glimpse, like the reason I was doing the search is because I was trying to understand employee retention. You brought up a good point. We did have a bad experience with the consulting last time, but based on the market right now, we've had to do a couple layoffs, and I'm trying to see how do I keep my top people without them going as well due to the layoffs.
That's great, and I think you would also respect this, Morgan.
That's great. That's not great that we're laying off people.
Here's what I mean by this. Here's what I mean by that. I think that you would respect the fact that there are a lot. If you were to Google consulting agencies, especially in business right now, my name Lathan would not pop up on. Maybe it might get to the page 1,000 of your Google searches because I just am launching a business about consulting, which is why I did all the grunt work before to have a conversation with you, because you might be getting cold calls from consulting agencies that are already going to sell you, that have that high name, high dollar figure. They're really just trying to get to sell, but may actually end up as the problem you already had. And I wanted to do the grunt work and say, hey, Morgan, I care about you enough, and I'm starting a business enough to know, hey, I know you have a problem, and I want to partner with you in that problem. I'd love to hop on a call and we just talk about State of the Union, like where you actually are, what's actually going on in your organization, and how we can transform it in a way that you don't have to pay for a consultant again. That
sounds intriguing.
So in the next, I know, Morgan, like your life is insane. I get it. This thing called crazy is your life. And then your next 2 weeks, 10 days, what's your next available? And I'll make myself available for you.
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe potentially the following Wednesday, I might be free.
Sweet. What time?
Maybe 2.
Okay. So I use Google. Can I get your email that I can send you a Google Calendar invite? And I would love to talk to you next Wednesday at 2. We can do another conversation. But really, I would love for you to bring everything as honest and authentic as you possibly can to the table, because that's the only way transformation can happen.
Yeah. So it's just Morgan at morganinc.com.
Sweet. Well, brother, you have a great Wednesday, and I will talk to you next week around this time.
Cool. Thank you, Lathan. All right, round of applause. Chat, let us know how Lathan did there. Let us know. We would love to hear that feedback. And I'll go first because I wrote down a couple things. So the reason I was throwing those things at you is because like when I would mention like maybe I've done like a search or a thing, people get really weird, right? So I was actually just curious to see how you handled it. I was like really while I was throwing that out there, I actually think that you did a good job of handling it and navigating it. And I think one thing that you said, and I mentioned it on the call, was you talked about how there was potentially a previously bad experience, right? And I think a lot of times people don't bring that up because sometimes people are hesitant, not because like they don't want to maybe look at stuff. It's because they've had something bad in the past, right? So bringing that up and elevating it, I think changed the conversation there for sure. I really like that. I think also as well, you were able to guide and just talk about just relevant things that maybe I was cared about in the HR role. I think you did a good job on that as well. And the only thing to consider is, I mean, I called it out. I mean, it's a small detail because I think there's not too much to really dive into or pick apart. Was when you said like that's great. When I was like, hey, we're laying people off, like, but also like I do this as well. And you say when you say someone says something like, oh, that's cool, and it's like it's not cool at all. It's just kind of like the filler to then say what you need to say. So I always encourage people to take a pause there and acknowledge what's going on and be like, oh, like layoffs, like I know that's probably like hard for you, and then go into what you have to say. That's my only thing that I would add. But overall, great job.
Yeah, awesome.
What's really interesting before David Morgan, you nailed it. That's like my biggest pain point is you with emails. Like when I forecast and see that you're actually in this conversation and not just trying to get out of it, then I'm like, okay, my next moment is to get you in a meeting. And so a lot of times they like get really real for a split second about here's actually my shit. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, cool. And so that's a really big problem with me. And that's been a real problem that I've had. Is that they're like, what the hell do you mean that's cool? That's not. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly what I mean.
Yeah, it's just a pause, man. The pause is I did that as well. I'd be like, that's amazing, and they would say like their team is like not performing and the guy's gonna get fired next week, right? So like what I realized is I had to pause and then like really acknowledge that and then move into what I had to say. But I know we're running out of time here, so David, talk to us.
Yeah, really quick. I think I would just say first and foremost, I loved your consistency throughout the call in terms of just trying to make Morgan feel special. I think it's really clever how like you've clearly decided on that being your differentiator compared to other consultancy organizations, and you were so consistent from start to finish on that. Like, you know, notably at the finish when you were saying, look, next 10 days I can make time for you whenever you need to. Whenever you can jump on, which is actually something that like I wouldn't advise my team at Cognism to do because I don't want us to sound not busy because we are. But it really works into your like narrative, right? Certainly when my company, when Cognism was in the early days and we were less busy, we actually told prospects like, oh, we're super busy, and we pushed back on timing even though perhaps we weren't. So, but that really worked for you, right? And for what you were trying to do and making them feel special. And I think what perhaps people in the chat can take away from this is like actually for everybody, people don't want to feel like they've just been cold called on a list and they're the same as everybody else, and they want to feel special. And so although you've completely owned that from start to finish, Lathan, I think also like the way that you started that conversation and giving that very clear explanation as to why you were calling Morgan over everybody else, like made Morgan feel really special, and you're going to have a really great call like from there. So yeah, all positive from me.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
No problem at all.
Cool. Should we do rapid fire questions here? I don't think we'll be able to do it on the call, David. Do you think?
I don't know. I assume I think that's our last one, right? Yeah, because we've only got a few minutes here. Yeah, maybe some rapid fire questions to finish off. Does anybody have any questions for us at all that they'd love for us to answer in this?
I think I just saw one here. Can we pen? Can we do this? Can we pen this one? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I think so. There's a question here from George that was pretty good. How do you tread the line between assuming someone's pain points
got it. I've done it.
And asking enough questions. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one.
Yeah. So this is it. Okay. How do I toe the line? This is a really good one. I think for me, okay, for certain products and services, you have like, maybe you might only have one pain point that exists. And so if you have that one pain point, but it's really, really unbelievably common, then I think assuming early, like Brian did in his call, is probably like, a really strong way of going forward. Because if they don't have that pain point, then actually the other part of SDRing or making these calls is qualifying people in and disqualifying people out. And we shouldn't be afraid necessarily that if people don't have that pain, it's okay to disqualify them out. So, but if you're the type of organization which can solve a lot of pains, that's where maybe you want to kind of go in a little bit more openly. So I think that's the way I'd approach it. I'm really interested to hear what you would say, Morgan, but I think it really just depends on your product or service, and go from there.
Yeah, it really does. And there's so many situations, and also depends on what stage the company's in too, right? Like if you have a massive customer base, you're going to know what the pain points are and what the goals are. But if you're just trying to figure out your ICP fit, right, you may not know that. So without knowing both of those scenarios, my recommendation for you is to lead with the keywords might or potentially. So you could be like, hey, we've been talking to VPs enablement, and this might be your problem right now because this is something they mentioned to us. Or this potentially could be something that you're trying to accomplish, right? So you're not 100% assuming, right? You can't be like, I know this is your problem, because you don't, right? I haven't done discovery enough to figure that out. However, I can say this potentially could be your problem. I said this might be the goal you're looking to accomplish. Nobody can come after you for that, right? You could do that all day long. So the mights, the potentially, those things are going to be able to help you. And that's what I'd recommend in those scenarios. And
that becomes a question anyway, as soon as you say the might, right? Now you're asking, you're delivering the pain as a question.
Exactly.
So yeah, couldn't agree more. What about this one from Imani? Classic one. Where'd you get my number from?
Oh, this one, you can go in so many different ways on this one. And I heard a really good one that someone did. And I actually want to use his. I have one, but I want to use his because I want to share with y'all because I thought it was really good. So when it was someone that I was like on a webinar with, and he basically, what he says is, hey, like, completely understand you don't like getting cold calls out of the blue. However, just like you have a job, this is my job to make calls and tell people why the reason I'm calling and potentially help you. So would you be open to hearing how I can help? I like that one because it's like, hey, this is the reason why my job is. I have another one as well. My personal one is basically saying like, hey, look, like this is where I got your number from a data tool, just like a lot of data tools out there. And I just need a quick 30 seconds to just explain to you, what you like, what potentially I could talk to you about here today, and let's just dive into it, right? So that you could do it different ways and different styles. The goal is to quickly pivot away from what your number is, right? You don't need to tell them where the number is from, where it's at. Like you're just trying to dive into it immediately. But those are just different examples.
And I think you mentioned earlier about objections, that really a lot of the time it's about moving on as quickly as possible, and not letting it sit, and you can, you fester in it. My team are obviously blessed that the first thing they say is Cognism, and that's exactly why I'm calling. So we probably have the best objection handler in the world.
Exactly.
Voicemails.
Yeah, I see a couple about voicemails.
Yeah, what do we think?
Yeah, I can tackle this. So do I recommend leaving voicemails? I'm curious, do y'all leave voicemails in here? Just let us know in the chat if you do or don't. I would tell you that voicemails, I'm all in on voicemails. And I'm going to tell you why, because some people are not, and it's fine. The thing is that the voicemail isn't for the callback. I want everybody to really dive into that one. The voicemail isn't for the callback. The voicemail is more so for them to look at your email and respond. So I actually do a good amount of voicemails, only 2 per prospect. And I do it at the beginning of the campaign, at the end of the campaign. And that's how you need to think about voicemails, is how do I get them to respond to my email? They're probably not going to call you back.
Yeah, totally agree. I actually, it's another touch point, right? If I'm on the phone, I'm there. I kind of may as well do it. I would say, and I think we've actually had this conversation before, Morgan, about, you know, there are cultural differences. I literally have never ever listened to my voicemail since I was, you know, I think I haven't listened to my voicemail in like 15 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's, you know, more common here than in the States or whatever. But overall, you know, while you're there, you may as well throw something in. But I'm exactly the same. I'm not expecting a cold call. I'm definitely not expecting someone to seek me out and say, "Hey, you left this voicemail." It's so unlikely. So yeah, pointing them in a different direction is going to be key. We've got a question that's actually come from. There's a Q&A section on this.
Yeah, there's a Q&A.
No,
Oh, whoa.
you got
Okay.
it.
This is lit. What? I love this. Y'all need to put yourself in the Q&A so you get blown up like this.
let's get it. And in the Q&A, you can vote on the question that you want to be answered. So sorry for everybody that's posting in the chat right now. Throw it in the Q&A because then everybody can vote and we can see the ones that are being voted at the most, and we'll try and answer them. So top tips for probing for a problem ASAP. What if they are reluctant to open up, and you know, they're a complete stranger. How do we build rapport?
Yeah. So there's 3 things to this. Hopefully I'll write this one down. Number 1 is you'll notice that each person that came up here had their own style and personality. I think Lathan did a really good job on this. You could tell his style, his comfortability. At the end of the day, that's going to lead to a massive engagement part, and rapport is what the more comfortable you get. If you were to hear me do a cold call, I keep things very light. I'm very direct, but I'm also keep things light. I keep it funny so people open up to me. That's just the way that I go about it. So 1 is you have to get your personality in check there. 2 is before you ask a question, I would write this down too. Say out of curiosity before you ask the question, because if you're coming from a curiosity place, most people are willing to give you the answer. It feels less like an interrogation. It feels more like a conversation. So out of curiosity is something that you want to do. Another thing is changing the word problem to obstacles. If you say, "Hey, I've been talking to a lot of people lately and here's this problem. Do you have a problem?" People, when you think about problems are headaches. But if I change that wording to obstacles, people think about how do I overcome an obstacle? Then I'm facing a problem. I'm facing a headache. So those are 3 things that I would say on how you can build rapport and ask this question. So Ada or Ada, I don't know exactly how you say your name. Hopefully that was helpful.
That's awesome. I would add, I would completely agree. I'd add just one thing. Don't be afraid to explain why you've asked that question, but do it in a way that explains what's in it for them, right? Like why, okay, the reason that I'm asking this question is because like, you know, is because I want to have a better understanding I want to have a better understanding of your product or your current situation, so that because I really think that I've got something that can help people in your position, something along those lines. That was very general, but don't be afraid to explain why you're asking those questions. Okay, cool. We're getting massive upvotes on perfect marketing. We've already got it. I'm assuming it's marketing that magically put
marketing is killing it.
Shout out Ashley and Tim. Okay, cool. What's your best opening line, Morgan?
Ooh, all right, y'all. So I got to do a whole like performance for this one. So y'all got to let me know how I do, or if you don't like it. This is the one that I coach my mentees on. This is one that I use when I'm training companies, and even internally at my new organization, this is one that I'm also training as well. And so this one might be different for on a region perspective, but this is the one that I love. So when I'm doing a cold call, let's say I'm calling David, for example, I'll say, "Hi, David. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, look, I know I'm calling you out the blue here. However, do you have a few moments to chat?" That is my best opening line. I could break down the reasons why, but we only have a couple minutes left and I want to get to David. But the main core reason is it's a pattern interrupt. I didn't say his name. I asked for moments instead of minutes, so it's ambiguous. People typically will give you more time. And if you don't say your name, people are more willing to say, like, "Who are you? What do you want?" Which leads then to me saying the reason for my call, which is what I want at the end of the day.
Love that. Love that. My best opening line, and it goes completely against what Morgan said earlier, and that's the beauty of the line of work that we're in, is because there's so many different opinions, and there's no silver bullet in sales, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. But I always say, hey, how are you? And I think that works so effectively for me personally, because I'm genuinely interested in people. And when I'm saying how are you, I deliver it in a way where actually a lot of the time people open up to me, and I think it's because I genuinely like I'm curious about it. So if you're going to use that, do it. And then, as I said earlier, like, it really helps me build a lot of rapport. A lot of my team are having tons of success with saying, hey, this is a cold call, feel free to hang up right now, which is like other end of the scale, right? It's quite an extreme reaction, but if you can deliver that in the right way with a bit of humor, then yeah, actually most of the time people aren't hanging up, which is obviously the aim, and then it gives you that permission as well. So a couple of really good opening lines there. I unfortunately don't think we've got any more time, right, Morgan?
I don't think we have any time left. I mean, we would love to hear from you all. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody in the chat. Let us know, but I don't think we have any time left to answer anything.
Unfortunately. In terms of those questions that are in the Q&A that we haven't answered, Cognism are producing tons of material around sales right now, and you know, the marketing team are going to grab them, and we'll try and get as many of those answered across our socials. So if you follow myself, Morgan, obviously definitely follow Morgan. You'd be great. I'm sure you all are already, but please follow Morgan, and then and Cognism's channel as well. It'd be great to see you there. Thank you so much. Oh yes, actually, we've got another one of these in 2 weeks, right, Morgan? We do.
It's going to be on the 31st. Same time.
Fantastic. So Tim's just put it in the chat, but feel free to sign up so that you get that notification, so it's in the calendar to join us then. And obviously we're looking for more volunteers, so please let us know if you'd like to volunteer. Morgan, thank you so much again for coming and joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Your thoughts are amazing on this, and yeah, you're always super insightful.
Same to you, David. I love that we can come with differing opinions and come to the same conclusions sometimes and still provide value. So again, hopefully everyone enjoyed this. Stay tuned because we're going to keep running these. So in 2 weeks, we'll see you all. Hopefully we see some return guests and continuously breaking down these cold calls.
And hopefully we see fire behind Morgan next time.
Yeah, once I find the video, look, I'm gonna come in with something hot. So
straight after this. All right, cheers everyone.